When Temujin rescued Börte, he gained far more than the return of his wife. Across the steppe, people began speaking his name with growing respect. He was still not a great Khan. He commanded only a small following, but something had changed. People were beginning to notice him.
Brothers, the wind whispers of our destiny. United, we rise as one horde. Let our
Many
fires forge an
tribal
empire.
leaders ruled through fear, wealth, or family connections. Temujin offered something different. He remembered loyalty. He rewarded those who stood beside him. Men who had once seen a struggling young chief now saw a leader worth following. And little by little, the balance of power on the steppe began to shift.
The steppe is peaceful today, my brother. It is, but the winds carry whispers
At this
of change.
time, Temujin and
Then we ride
Jamukha were
together,
still
as
close
always.
allies.
Yes,
Their
brother.
friendship stretched back to childhood. They had shared hardships, dreams, and ambitions. Both men wanted influence among the tribes. Both possessed natural leadership. Yet, beneath their friendship, important differences were beginning to emerge. Differences that neither man could fully ignore forever.
Jamukha, the tribes look to you for unity. I hear
For
you,
generations, the Mongol
warriors will
tribes
stand
had
with
followed
us.
an old
Then we proceed
system.
with tradition.
Power usually belonged to noble families. Status was inherited. A man's birth often mattered more than his ability. Jamukha largely accepted this tradition. To many tribal nobles, it was the natural order of the steppe, a system that had existed long before either man was born, and one they had no desire to change. Temujin
friends,
saw the
how are your
world
families?
differently. He had
We are well,
spent much
Temujin.
of his
The
life
herds
among
thrive.
people with little
Thank you for
power.
asking about
Widows, herders,
We are strongest
hunters,
together.
families struggling to survive. Because of this, he valued ability more than noble birth. If a man proved loyal and capable, Temujin was willing to reward him. For many ordinary people, this offered opportunities they had rarely known before, and it helped his following grow. As
We have
news of
returned.
Temujin spread,
Welcome back,
more
brothers.
people began arriving at his
Welcome,
camp.
warriors.
Some were
camp is
experienced
yours.
warriors,
We bring
others
news,
were
my Khan.
families seeking protection. Many came from different tribes. Some had little status in their own communities. But Temujin often judged people by their actions, not their family names. This attracted followers from across the steppe, and with every new arrival, his influence continued to expand.
The omens are
Not
unclear.
everyone welcomed these
The winds
changes.
carry warning.
Around campfires across
must
the steppe,
prepare.
questions
Patience.
began to emerge.
Wisdom guides us.
Why was Temujin attracting
The
so many
spirits
followers?
speak through the
Why were
flames.
people leaving their traditional
Yet
leaders?
their meaning remains
Some
veiled.
tribal nobles viewed his growing
We
influence
cannot
with
ignore the
suspicion.
signs.
Others worried that
The
old
path ahead
customs were being
is
challenged.
shrouded.
For now,
We
these
must read the
concerns
signs
remained
carefully.
only words. But words have a way of
Uncertainty weighs
becoming
heavy on us
something
all.
more. Jamukha could see what was happening. His old friend was no longer a minor tribal leader. Temujin's following was growing steadily. More warriors were joining him. More families were placing their trust in him. Jamukha respected Temujin, perhaps more than anyone else did. But he also understood politics, and he knew that on the steppe, two rising leaders rarely shared the same path forever.
The sky is vast,
Despite
my
the
friend.
growing tensions around
tests
them,
our resolve.
Temujin and Jamukha remained
United, we are
allies.
strong.
They still shared
Let
meals,
nothing
still
divide
exchanged
us.
advice, still remembered the bond they
has
had
always
formed
been
as young
strong,
men.
Jamukha.
Neither wished for
Yes, brother.
conflict.
The steppe is
Neither
wide
saw
enough
the
for
other
both
as
of
an
us.
enemy. But
Together we can
friendship
unite all the
alone could
clans.
not erase their
The clans
differences.
look to us
The
for
more their
guidance,
influence
Jamukha.
grew, the more difficult it
They
became
do,
to
my friend.
ignore the question of
But
leadership,
trust must
a
be earned
question that
slowly.
neither
Then
man
we
could
walk this
answer
path together.
forever.
The winds carry change, brothers. Aye, we must be wise and watchful, especially of him. Temujin bears watching.
As Temujin's reputation grew, other tribal leaders began paying closer attention. Meetings became more important. Alliances became more valuable. Every conversation carried political weight. Some chiefs saw opportunity, others saw uncertainty. Many simply watched and waited. Some leaders believed Temujin represented the future. Others preferred the traditions defended by Jamukha. Neither side was openly seeking conflict, but a question was beginning to spread across the steppe. Who should lead the Mongol tribes? And as more people asked that question, the rivalry between two old friends moved one step closer. For a time, life continued much as before. Temujin and Jamukha remained allies, but their followers were beginning to form separate circles. Different advisors, different priorities, different visions for the future. The divide was still small, yet with each passing season, their camps seemed a little farther apart. As Temujin's influence grew, some people made an important decision. They left the leaders they had always followed and joined him instead. For many, this was not simply a political choice. It affected families, friendships, and long-standing tribal relationships. Every new follower strengthened Temujin, but every departure also created resentment elsewhere. Across the steppe, people were beginning to choose sides.
Jamukha, the winds shift.
The clans murmur.
We must be ready.
I hear.
Jamukha could see the changes. More people were choosing to follow Temujin. More tribal leaders were taking him seriously. As an experienced leader, Jamukha understood what this meant. Influence on the steppe was never permanent. It had to be earned and protected. For the first time, he began to wonder where these changes might lead. Temujin welcomed new followers, but leadership brought new burdens. Every family expected protection. Every warrior expected direction. Every alliance required careful attention. The larger his following became, the greater his responsibilities grew. The young man who had once struggled simply to survive was now responsible for the future of many others, and the decisions ahead would affect far more than his own family. Temujin and Jamukha still respected one another, but they were moving in different directions. Jamukha drew strength from the traditional noble families. Temujin attracted people from many backgrounds. Both approaches had supporters. Both seemed legitimate. Yet each season made the contrast more visible. Without realizing it, the two friends were building rival centers of influence across the steppe.
The western herds are thriving.
Across the
We need
steppe,
strong horses for the
news
journey.
traveled quickly.
Have the eastern
A
scouts
traveler
returned?
carried a
Not
story.
yet.
A
They are
merchant
delayed.
We will wait
repeated
for their
it.
news.
A warrior added his own version. Soon, people far from Temujin's camp knew his name. Some admired him, some doubted him, but few ignored him. The conversation spreading across the grasslands was becoming part of a much larger change. Then came a moment nobody could ignore. Entire groups began leaving their old leaders. Not one warrior, not one family. Dozens, sometimes hundreds. They packed their belongings, mounted their horses, and rode toward Temujin. This was no longer a rumor, no longer a growing reputation. The balance of power was beginning to move with real people, real families, and real loyalty. The movement of people caught everyone's attention. Among ordinary families, Temujin's success inspired hope. Among many nobles, it inspired concern. For generations, leadership had followed familiar rules. Now a leader was rising by attracting loyalty from across tribal boundaries. Some chiefs began asking a difficult question. If Temujin continued growing stronger, what would happen to the old order of the steppe? Temujin and Jamukha still spoke as allies, but the world around them was changing. Every new follower strengthened one side and weakened another. Neither man had planned for this, yet both understood what was happening. Their friendship had once united people, Now their growing influence was beginning to divide them. The steppe was moving toward a choice, and that choice was getting closer with every season.
Temujin, the tribes stand with you. We offer
The
our
moment
swords
had
and our
finally
lives.
arrived.
Lead us to
Temujin's
victory, great
supporters
Khan.
gathered on the steppe. For years, they had watched him overcome hardship, build alliances, and attract followers. Now they made their decision. Before the assembled tribes, they recognized Temujin as their Khan. A new political force had appeared on the steppe.
My lord Jamukha, I bring urgent news. Speak. Temujin marches on us with a great army.
The news spread
How many?
quickly.
Tens of
Temujin had
thousands.
been
We must act.
recognized as a Khan. Soon, the message reached Jamukha's camp. The announcement changed everything. This was no longer the rise of a promising ally. Temujin now stood as the leader of a growing political faction. And for the first time, two centers of power existed on the steppe. Jamukha knew Temujin better than almost anyone alive. He remembered the hungry boy, the young warrior, the friend who had once shared his hopes for the future. But the steppe was changing, and both men were changing with it. What had once been a partnership between allies was becoming a competition between leaders. Neither could simply step aside. Too many people now depended on them, and the distance between their paths continued to grow. Then came something more painful than politics. People began leaving. Not enemies, not strangers. People Jamukha had known for years. Some chose to follow Temujin. Others remained loyal to Jamukha. For the first time, the divide between the two leaders became impossible to ignore.
My lord, we are with you.
Your loyalty sustains me.
Every
What is our
departure
path now?
changed the balance
Right
of
at
power.
The men
But
are
every
ready.
man who stayed sent a message as well. Many still believed in Jamukha. Many still respected his leadership. The steppe was no longer choosing one leader. It was dividing between two visions of the future. And that division was growing deeper with every season.
The winds carry change, my brother. Our paths may diverge, but our bond remains. The
For a
steppe will
time,
test our
both
brotherhood.
men tried to
Let the
preserve
sky
their
witness our
friendship.
resolve.
They shared too much history to forget it easily. Years of hardship, years of trust, years of loyalty. But the future each man imagined for the steppe was no longer the same. The bond remained, yet the road ahead was pulling them in different directions. Neither man declared war that day. No swords were drawn. No battle was fought. Yet something important had ended. The friendship that once united them could no longer guide the future. From this point forward, Temujin and Jamukha would lead separate camps, separate alliances, and increasingly, separate destinies. The separation changed everything. Across the steppe, tribes began making difficult choices. Some pledged themselves to Temujin. Others stood with Jamukha. Messengers rode day and night. Alliances were renewed. Promises were made. And everywhere, people sensed that a larger confrontation was approaching.
Brothers, the winds carry our fate. We stand united as our ancestors decree.
Neutrality was
Let the
becoming
council begin.
difficult. Every tribe understood the reality. If conflict came, remaining on the sidelines might no longer be possible. Leaders weighed their options carefully. Some trusted Temujin's vision. Others believed Jamukha represented stability and tradition. The future of the Mongol tribes was beginning to divide along those lines. At last, the waiting began to end. Messages spread across the steppe. Warriors were summoned. Allies were called upon. Tribal leaders prepared for what many had feared. The rivalry between Temujin and Jamukha was becoming something larger. Not simply a dispute between two men, but a struggle that would shape the future of the Mongol tribes.
Temujin, the river crossing is vulnerable here. Then we feint there. Draw them out.
Temujin
cavalry will be
understood the
ready. They won't
danger
expect
ahead.
it.
Victory
Good.
would
Prepare
require
them in.
more than courage. It would require organization, discipline, and trust. He met with his commanders, listened to advice, and prepared his followers for the challenges to come. The young survivor abandoned on the steppe was now leading a growing force into an uncertain future.
Warriors of the steppe, we gather not for plunder, but for our destiny.
Temujin was
Sky
not the
favors the
only
bold.
leader
Follow me
preparing.
and we will rise as one.
Jamukha also
Let the wind
gathered
carry our
his
oath,
allies.
unbreakable loyalty,
He remained
eternal vows.
respected across the steppe. Many powerful chiefs still stood beside him. Many warriors trusted his judgment. To them, this was not a struggle against a friend. It was a struggle for the future of their world, and they were determined to defend it. Soon, the movement began. Warriors left their camps. Allies joined their leaders. Columns of riders crossed the grasslands. The conflict that had been growing for years was finally taking shape. No one knew how it would end, but everyone understood one thing. The age of political rivalry was ending. The age of confrontation was about to begin.
The enemy is mobilizing. We must report. Their cavalry
Eventually,
flanks are
the
advancing.
two sides found themselves
Riders, deliver the
moving toward
reports.
the
The battle
same
is near.
ground. Scouts carried reports back and forth. Each leader searched for information. Each leader tried to anticipate the other's next move. The rivalry that had divided the tribes was now bringing armed followers face to face. For the first time, a direct confrontation seemed unavoidable.
The men are ready?
As the confrontation approached, both camps
Good.
prepared.
We move at
Weapons
dawn.
were
It
inspected.
will be done.
Horses were rested. Warriors considered what the next day might bring. For many, the enemy waiting across the steppe was not a foreign invader. It was another Mongol force. Men who spoke the same language and shared many of the same traditions. The coming battle would be fought among people who knew one another well. The morning finally arrived. For years, the rivalry between Temujin and Jamukha had been growing. Now, their followers stood ready to settle it by force. Across the steppe, warriors mounted their horses. Bows were checked, orders were given, and thousands waited for the signal that would change everything. As the sun climbed higher, the two forces moved forward. Old allies now rode under different banners. Old friendships were tested by new loyalties. Neither side wished to appear weak. Neither side intended to retreat. What had begun as a political struggle had become a battle for leadership of the Mongol tribes, and the outcome would shape the future of the steppe. The battle did not unfold as Temujin had hoped. Jamukha's forces fought effectively. His commanders coordinated their movements well. Across the battlefield, Temujin's followers struggled to maintain momentum. As the fighting continued, the advantage began shifting toward Jamukha. For the first time in years, Temujin faced the possibility of major defeat.
Warriors, stay in formation! The enemy is behind us! Yes, Temujin!
By the end of the battle,
Do not
Temujin's
falter!
army had been
We will
defeated.
regroup!
The victory belonged to Jamukha. For Temujin, the setback was painful. Many leaders would have seen such a defeat as the end of their ambitions. But history would remember something important. Temujin did not disappear. He did not surrender, and he did not abandon his followers.
Rest well. We ride at dawn.
The defeat
Yes,
left
Temujin.
deep scars. Many warriors
Tend to
had
the
been
horses.
lost. Many families
ready.
feared what might come next. Some leaders would have blamed others. Some would have abandoned their cause. Temujin chose a different path. He remained with his followers, shared their hardships, and faced the consequences alongside them. That decision would not be forgotten.
Brothers, the night is long, but our fire
Defeat
burns
often
bright.
reveals the
We endure
truth
together.
about loyalty.
Our bond is our
Some
strength.
followers
Rest now.
left,
Tomorrow
but
we
many
ride.
remained. They had seen Temujin succeed. Now they watched how he responded to failure. What impressed them was not victory, it was perseverance. Even after losing the battle, he refused to give up, and that determination strengthened the bond between leader and follower. After the victory, Jamukha faced an important choice. How should defeated enemies be treated? Many leaders of the steppe believed harsh punishment was necessary. It discouraged rebellion and demonstrated strength. Jamukha chose severity, a decision that would become one of the most controversial moments of his life, one that many people would remember for years to come.
The elders say the stars are our ancestors'
News traveled
fires.
quickly
So they
across the
watch over
grasslands.
My
Stories
father
of the
told me of
battle
his journey
spread from
across these
camp to
lands.
camp.
He found
So did
strength in the
stories of what
stories.
followed.
The great
For
Khans
some,
rode these
Jamukha's
same lands
actions
under the
showed
same
strength.
stars.
For others,
And
they
their spirit
raised
still ride
troubling
with us.
questions.
Yes.
Victories
Strength
could
comes
win
from
battles,
remembering.
but reputation often shaped the future. And across the steppe, people were beginning to judge leaders by more than success alone.
Archers, steady your aim.
Many expected
Easy now, boy,
Temujin
hold
to
still.
disappear after his defeat.
Keep the pace.
Instead,
We move at
he
dawn.
began rebuilding. He gathered those who remained loyal, learned from his mistakes, and prepared for the future. The battle had cost him dearly, but it had also taught him valuable lessons. Lessons about leadership, about organization, and about the kind of army he would need to survive.
Fight as one. Leave your tribes behind.
As one!
The defeat strengthened one of
Good.
Temujin's
The empire
beliefs.
begins here.
Loyalty mattered more than noble birth. Ability mattered more than family status. If a man proved himself, Temujin wanted him rewarded. This approach continued attracting followers, especially those who felt overlooked by the old system. Slowly, a different vision for the future of the steppe was taking shape.
The repairs are vital. We must be ready.
Temujin
Yes, my lord.
understood a
We are
difficult
working without
truth.
pause.
Courage alone was not
Prepare the horses
enough.
for
A
travel.
leader could inspire loyalty. A warrior could fight bravely. Yet victory required something more. Discipline, preparation, organization. After his defeat at Dalan Balzhut, Temujin focused on strengthening every part of his growing force. He intended to be ready for the next challenge.
You have proven your loyalty, brother. It is an honor to stand with you. Step forward, lead them. As
Temujin
you
continued rewarding ability wherever he found it. Some of his most trusted followers did not come from powerful families. Many had earned their place through loyalty, skill, and determination. This was unusual on the steppe, but it gave ambitious people a reason to join him, and every capable new follower made his position stronger.
Welcome, my friends. We are stronger together.
We have ridden far for this alliance.
You honor
Despite
us.
his
Our path is
defeat,
shared.
people continued
Just
joining Temujin. Some came for protection, some came for opportunity, others simply believed in his future. His enemies had expected his influence to collapse. Instead, it continued to grow. Slowly, the setback at Dalan Balzhut was becoming a lesson rather than an ending.
Temujin, the enemy gathers strength in the hills. Our warriors are ready, but we need a plan. What were your orders? Patience.
As his
We
following
strike at dawn,
expanded,
united.
Temujin could no longer lead alone. He needed capable people around him, men he could trust, men who would remain loyal in difficult times. Over the coming years, these companions would become some of the most important figures in his rise, and many of them had already begun gathering around him.
Word from the east. New grazing lands.
They say the mountains hold treasure. Show us the way.
Across the
We will
steppe,
follow.
people continued discussing Temujin, not because he had won, but because he had survived. Many leaders disappeared after major defeats. Temujin remained. He rebuilt, adapted, and continued moving forward. That persistence impressed many observers, even some who had not yet chosen a side. The defeat at Dalan Balzhut forced Temujin to rethink many things: how armies should be organized, how information should be shared, how commanders should work together. Every mistake became a lesson. Every lesson became an advantage. And with each passing season, his followers became more disciplined than they had been before. Most tribal armies were built around family ties. Temujin began thinking differently. He wanted warriors to fight as one force, not as separate tribes, not as rival clans, but as members of a larger community. It was an ambitious idea, and not everyone supported it. Yet the system slowly began taking shape, one lesson at a time, one loyal follower at a time. The steppe listened carefully. Stories about Temujin continued to spread. Some described a leader rebuilding after defeat. Others spoke of new ideas taking shape inside his camp. Supporters saw promise. Critics saw danger. But almost everyone agreed on one thing: Temujin was not finished, and his next move would matter to the future of every tribe.
The tribes gather. They await your command.
Jamukha was watching
The
closely.
wind brings omens.
He knew his former ally had survived. He knew new followers were still arriving, and he knew Temujin was changing. The struggle between them had paused, but it had not ended. Both leaders were learning. Both leaders were growing stronger, and both understood that the future would bring another test. The years ahead would not be easy. Powerful enemies still stood against him. Old rivalries remained unresolved, and the Mongol tribes were still divided. Yet Temujin possessed something he had not possessed before: experience, the lessons of defeat, the loyalty of tested followers, and a vision that was beginning to reach far beyond simple survival. Temujin had survived defeat, but survival was only the beginning. Across the steppe, old alliances were breaking, new enemies were emerging, and powerful tribes were preparing for the struggle ahead. The road to unification would demand more than courage, more than loyalty, more than victory. In the next chapter, Temujin will face the greatest challenges of his life, and the destiny of the Mongol tribes will move one step closer to being forged.